Every single day, without even realizing it, your brain is playing two very different roles. It's part detective and it's part scientist. How does it do that? Well, it uses two incredibly powerful ways of thinking, deductive and inductive reasoning. These are basically the engines behind every single conclusion you ever draw. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see how they work.
So let me ask you straight up, which one are you? When you hit a problem, is your gut instinct to be the detective, applying the rules you already know to find the one right answer? Or are you more of a scientist, gathering clues and evidence to come up with a totally new theory? Think about it, because your answer says a lot about which kind of reasoning you lean on.
All right, let's start with deduction. I want you to picture Sherlock Holmes. He's not making wild guesses, right? What he's doing is taking a big, general truth that he already knows and applying it with laser focus to solve the specific case right in front of him. It's a very direct, top-down path to the truth. So deductive reasoning always kicks off with a general rule. And the key word here, the most important thing to remember, is certainty. If the rule you start with is true and your logic is solid, then the conclusion you reach isn't just likely, it's absolutely 100% guaranteed. It's a closed loop. There's no room for maybe. This is exactly what we mean by top-down logic. Imagine a funnel. You pour a big, broad truth in at the wide top, and it channels everything down to one specific, unavoidable conclusion at the bottom. You're not inventing anything new, you're just applying a rule that's already on the books. And here is the perfect, absolutely airtight example of deduction. It's the classic syllogism. Okay, step 1, our first premise. All men are mortal. Got it. Step 2, our second premise. Socrates is a man. Okay, so if we accept both of those statements as true, the conclusion isn't just a good guess, it's inescapable. Socrates must be mortal. There's no other possible answer. Okay, let's switch gears completely. Time to take off the detective's hat and put on the scientist's lab coat. We're going to talk about induction. Now, instead of starting with a rule, we start with what we can see, gathering clues and data from the world to build a theory from the ground up. So yeah, inductive reasoning is basically the total opposite of what we just talked about. It looks at a whole bunch of specific observations and then tries to form a general rule that fits them all. And here is the absolute crucial difference. The conclusion is all about probability. It's not a certainty. And that's why we call this bottom-up logic. You're starting down on the ground with individual little pieces of evidence, and you're building your way up toward a bigger, broader idea. You are essentially creating a brand new theory based on what you've observed. Just think about the sun rising. It's a simple example. We see it rose this morning. We know it rose yesterday. In fact, it's risen every single day in recorded history. So this mountain of evidence leads us to a pretty strong conclusion. The sun will rise tomorrow. But is that logically guaranteed? Actually, no. It's just an incredibly high probability based on a pattern. And that, right there, is the heart of induction. Okay, so we've met our two thinkers, the detective and the scientist. Let's put them right next to each other, side by side, to really get a sharp look at what makes them so different. So let's just boil it all the way down. Deduction, it moves from the general to the specific, and it gives you proof. Induction, it moves from the specific to the general, and it gives you probability. That's it. It's the difference between being absolutely certain versus making a really, really good educated guess. Let's go a little deeper. The detective applies rules that are already in the book. The scientist is trying to write a whole new book. And look at their weaknesses. Deduction completely falls apart if the rule you started with turns out to be wrong. Induction, on the other hand, can have its beautiful theory totally wrecked by just one new piece of data that breaks the pattern. This is why you see them in different places. Deduction is the powerhouse of math proofs, and induction is the engine of scientific discovery. So why are we getting into all this? Is it just, some abstract philosophical thing? No way. These aren't just ideas for a textbook. They are the two most fundamental tools you have in your mental toolkit, and you are using them constantly, whether you know it or not. There's this fantastic quote that really says it all. Induction produces the premises that deduction is going to use. This might be the most important thing to get. They are not enemies, they are partners. The scientist, using induction, discovers the general rules of how the world works. Then the detective, using deduction, takes those rules to solve specific cases. It's a perfect cycle of learning and then applying what you've learned. I mean, just think about your own life. Your phone dies. You immediately use deduction. The general rule is, phones need power to work. Your specific conclusion, the battery must be dead. Now, think about figuring out a food allergy. That is pure induction. You notice a pattern. Hey, every single time I eat strawberries, my throat gets all itchy. From that specific pattern, you build a probable theory. You know what? I think I'm allergic to strawberries. So, in the end, you've got two essential tools. You have the detective's logic for applying what you already know for sure, and you have the scientist's method for discovering what's new. Understanding both of them, knowing when to use each one, and knowing their limits, well, that's really the foundation of all clear critical thinking. So now, the question really turns back to you. In your own life, your job, your hobbies, which path do you find yourself walking down more often? Are you the detective, expertly applying the rules you already know? Or are you the scientist, always scanning the horizon, looking for new patterns to create new rules? Knowing your own default style is the very first step to mastering both.